Welcome back to Light Talk, where the people. I'm going to scratch that. Yeah. Welcome back to Light Talk, where we talk about paranormal and supernatural experiences. And if you have any stories you would like to share, email me at lighttalk423@gmail.com. And while you're at it, click on the like, share, and subscribe buttons. Well, today we have a great guest for you. I'm excited to get started. So we're going to get started. So go ahead and introduce yourself and welcome to the show.
Well, thank you for inviting me. My name is Maryann Taylor. I live in Riverbend, North Carolina now, originally from New Jersey. And I've been doing paranormal investigations since about 2019.
Awesome. So I'm sure you have lots of stories for us. I know you do.
Yeah, it's an interesting thing to do on your hobby time.
Absolutely. Absolutely. It's so why don't you go ahead and start? What kinds of stories you've been investigating since 19? What kinds of stories have intrigued you or scared you, or any ones that stick out?
Well, the very first investigation I went on was had never done paranormal investigations to that sense, was in Franklin Mineral Mines in Franklin, New Jersey. I went with a group, and we were the first group to go in and investigate the mines, which had a lot of history to it. And we had a lot of activity. We had ectoplasm show up on camera that I was able to catch. And it was it came on command to questions we did. Actually, it got picked up on Paranormal Caught on Camera, and we were actually on one of those shows.
Really?
Also for that event. Yeah. It was just a very interesting thing. There was a group of us, about, I'd say 15 to 20 of us that were down there. And we were there at 9, 10 o'clock at night. So it was quiet and everything. We had one experience in the mine where half of us was in one part of the mine, and we were kind of standing on this great area. And all of a sudden we heard this loud, like, explosion. So the person that was with us from the mine walking back to another person that was from the mine that was with the other part of the group. And they said, "Did you just set off the fake explosions?" And he's like, "No." And we all had heard the explosion. We felt it. Actually, none of us had our cameras going at that point. But it was just a very loud explosion. We heard a lot of voices. And that's really when I got caught. I got, oh, this is interesting. This is something that I could do and enjoy. And it wasn't evil. It was just exciting. You could kind of feel the electricity. And every time we hit something, the whole team would just get so excited about it. So that was my very first experience with it. Yeah. And since it had never been explored before, we were even more thrilled because we were basically in the dark. So the other ones I can pinpoint is we did one in a Boy Scout camp in New Jersey. And at the group I was with at that point, for some reason, we always ended up doing it at night, like 9, 10 o'clock at night. And it was cold. And we were walking around the camp, and one of the girls I was with, she had forgotten her phone back in the beginning near the cars. So I said, "Well, I'll walk you back so that, you can get your phone." The others were in a cabin, a little further on. So I walked back, and it was a full moon, naturally, in the middle of the woods. And we're walking, perfect setting. And we were kind of teasing about that, Yeah, sure, we're walking through the woods in a haunted place, in the full moon. Yeah, no problems here. So we actually walked back to where she found her phone. She got her phone. And as we were walking back, we started hearing things. And we weren't sure exactly what it was. Now, there's bears in the area. We're not sure if it's bears, whatever. So we're kind of on guard at this point. I actually did have my recorder going at that point. And we're just talking about things. And we're like, "Did you hear that? What was that?" And we're both kind of like getting a little spooked now because we didn't know what it was. And so you can hear us on the audio kind of like really walking a little faster in the gravel. And all of a sudden we heard this growl. and we didn't know what it was. So like idiots, which is the thing you're not supposed to do if a bear is around, we took off running. It was like we wanted to get back to the cabin. And here we are, people that live in the country know you're not supposed to run if a bear's around, but we weren't waiting to find out. So we took off and we got back to the cabin and we're out of breath. And the guys are like, what's going on? And there were a couple of the camp rangers there. And we're like, we think there's a bear out there. So before they let us go back out as a group, they actually went out and scouted the area and looked for any signs. And he goes, nope, there's no signs of bears anywhere in the area. We didn't hear anything. Okay, so they kind of put it down to two women that were afraid of the dark, and they laughed us off. So the next day, I gave the audio to my friend that happened to be the one walking with me, and she had a friend that had the equipment that could kind of cut out sounds and like listen to what's underneath. And so about 2 hours later, she's called me and she says, I just sent you something. She says, listen to it. And I'm like, okay. So when I listened to it, you could hear our conversation and everything, but behind it, we heard voices. It wasn't the growls, it was voices. And it was, get that one. Don't let them get away. Get that one. Stop them now. And that was when we had started running. So we were feeling like the energy of fear, but it actually was something there that was making us afraid. So after we heard that, I was like, that's it. I'm not going back to that place ever again. There's something definitely in that forest.
Right.
We had another one where my daughter and son-in-law actually came with us. There was a group of us again. And we had done, it was a piano repair shop in, I think it was Pennsylvania, that one was. And again, it was wintertime, it was cold. And we were in this shop and it had a lot of history in it. The guy was a collector, so he had a load of stuff in it, which naturally, stuff keeps energy. So we're walking around and I think it was like 2-3 o'clock in the morning. And the bay door that went from the garage area out started to like raise up and down. Not all the way, but just like halfway up, halfway down, halfway up, halfway down. And we're all, my daughter was filming it and she's like, what in the world? So we start calling to the guy that owns the place and he goes, that door doesn't work. It doesn't go up and it doesn't go down, but we're watching it on film going up and down, up and down, up and down.
Oh my goodness.
So the guys, so we're like, okay, something's going on. So then we thought maybe somebody was just fooling with us. They were outside or something. So the guys take off. We let them go. They ran outside and they looked in the, we weren't going out, let them go. So we were looking in the snow and there was no snow, no footprints. There was stuff actually leaned against the door that was being stored. So there was nowhere like you could even get the door up and down, but that door moved and we did get it on video. So that was something that just like blew us away. The images like that, you just can't explain to people. They always try. I mean, we try to debunk it. Our first thing was, who's messing with us? Who's out there playing around, or kids out there trying, they know we're doing something, But that one we couldn't debunk at all. It was just the door was up and down and nobody could understand why it was going up and down. So
wow. So there was something leaning up against the door. Did that fall?
Right. No, it was like, I don't know. I think it was like pieces of wood or something that they had just like stacked against the door because it wasn't working. So they had just like stacked like 2x4s or something there. So it hadn't fallen anywhere. It was right where they had it. But it hadn't like, it didn't cause the door to move because they said that door hadn't gone up or down in months. And they hadn't gotten around to fixing it because they were waiting for the warmer weather to come. So there was and the door was going up fairly like halfway up, halfway down. And then it was just banging back and forth. So that was a little creepy.
Yeah, I bet it was. I bet. Yeah.
But I worked with several different groups in New Jersey. We had bigger groups, smaller groups, and we went all over the place. We went to Waterloo Village, which is in New Jersey, and we caught a lot of activity there. We caught a little girl crying for her mother. We had a little girl that we could see in the windows and we were trying to chase her around the house and she was responding to our questions. The main thing is with me is, one, I usually don't like to know too much history about the place I'm going to.
Right.
I don't want to know what's there or what people say about it, especially if it's a normally haunted place. because then you're not sure if you're listening to your voices in your head or you're listening to information that was given to you. So I usually am the one that says, I don't want to hear about it. Give me the address. Just don't tell me anything. I just want to feel what I feel, and we'll judge it later. And usually what we did in our group was each person or one person out of the group would be the historian. So they would take the place we were going, they would do the history in it, and then they would keep it until we did our investigation. And then we would sit and match up what we had found out, what we heard, to see if we can match something up. So, but yeah, I'm old school. I'm like the person with the hand recorder, the camera phone. I'm not. I use a lot of stuff. The REM pod I've used EVP. Readers. I have a voice box thing, but you have to judge when you're doing the investigation. Your first thing should be coming from what you're feeling, what you're hearing, and not what all the electronics is telling you. It's a help. But if you're relying on that, you're not using your psychic abilities.
So what abilities do you have?
People ask me, are you a psychic? What are you? I always say I'm a sensitive because I pick up on things that are around me. It's not always the same. My one thing that I always do is pick up names. I can pick up names. If I'm in an area, all of a sudden names will come to me. It may not be the full name. It might be like Andy, Andrew, something like that. So I'm trying to fit it into something. Right. I was on a military base once, and we were walking around this area, and there was only a couple of us, and we actually had one of the military base police with us. And I kept coming up with this name, Andrew, and I kept saying, Andy, Andrew, something like that. Something's coming through. Is there something around here that, is making me hit that? And he said, oh yeah, we know Captain Andrew. And I'm like, okay, who's Captain Andrew? Turned out that he was the last railroad captain on the train that used to run right where the area where we were in. And everybody knew him. And the guard actually had been on his last ride when he took his last ride with the train. So it was like full circle that we were able to, make that connection. And that always, like, the officers that were with us were just looking at us like, are you kidding me? Are you serious?
Oh,
so
yeah, that's awesome.
It's like, because these are guys that, they don't believe this stuff. This is just, this is way beyond their recognition. But, I always say I'm a sensitive because I never know what's going to come to me. It may be something in a dream. It may be something that I get this like deja vu feeling that something's going to happen. If I'm on an investigation, it's usually I'll catch energy. I'll just feel, I'll walk into a place and just say, okay, I want to go here. And I let the energy just kind of push me to where I'm supposed to go. You have to do that when you're doing investigations. You can't push against it. You have to just let the spirits take you where they want you to be, So okay. We did another investigation in New Jersey again. New Jersey is very active. And it was really funny. When I mapped it out, all of our investigations, they were all in like a circle in this one area. Really? And we were going like full circle. It was really interesting. And it was like almost like there was an area that was just highly charged. And we were in this investigation, and we did it for 4 times, actually. We went back to this one place because it was so active. And the first time we got a lot of energy where there were secrets in the house. And it had been called the captain's house. And it was from way back in the 1700s. It was owned by a sea captain. And we felt very sure there was some kind of either a slavery or child abductions or something like that was going on. Nothing historical. Naturally, that type of stuff wasn't written down anywhere. But we all of us strongly had that feeling. However, one of our investigators kept getting a feeling there was like a fireplace in the one room and there was a wall. And she said, there's something behind this wall. And we're like, okay, so we're knocking on it. We're trying to get readings from it. Nothing's coming through. So the next week, the owner of the place calls us and she goes, I knocked the wall down. We're like, what? We didn't tell you to go knock the wall down. Did not expect you to do that. We're like, you what? She goes, yeah, I knocked the wall down. And she goes, you're not going to believe what I found. So she sends us pictures, and it actually was a staircase that went behind the wall up to the second floor. It was like an old wooden staircase, and it went up to the room that we had been getting the most activity in upstairs. So we felt that that was where the door for the basement was, where we had felt energy, and where that was, that was the trail of whatever was happening, that they brought people up to hide. And it also kept going up to like an attic area. So we felt that that was all, and up in the attic there was names scratched, and there was things on the walls that we saw, that we felt that that was something bad had happened there, but we could never really connect it. But the thing was, the two spirits were two brothers, and they did not like each other. They actually hated each other. The one brother, we could feel that immensely. The one brother, he died in a sea accident unexpectedly. He was coming home from some shipping thing, and he died at sea. And we felt that he was the one that was trying to stop the other brother from doing whatever the other brother was into. And we don't feel that drowning of the brother was really an accident. We feel there was something else that was going on there. But again, no proof. It was just what we were getting. But the spirits did not like women. The two guys did not like women. They really didn't like women, especially the one brother. And so when the women were around, we always had to be careful, because a couple of us had been pushed on the stairs. We had been like doors slammed in front of our faces. So we had to be cautious because we knew that it was dangerous. So about the third time we went, we brought guys with us. We brought a load of psychics that we knew that were guys. And we figured this way they would kind of get the feeling that we weren't, just women doing this. This was men. The guys felt a lot of energy. They felt the negativity. And I think the last time we went back again with another different group. We kept trying different groups to see what we could get.
Right.
And we were sitting up on the second floor room, and I had a best friend who was a psychic with me, and which was the woman back from the getting chased by the bear. And we were sitting there, and everybody always teased us. We were like sisters because we were so much alike. And we were sitting there, and we just started arguing with each other. And everybody in the room is looking at us. And we just started, like, if she said one thing, I'd say the other. And if I said one thing, she'd say the other. It was like a constant arguing. And everybody's looking at us like, what is wrong with this? And I looked across, and there was one of the owners was sitting down, and I said, I'm not going to freak you out, but there's a man standing in front of you. And I could see him full-faced, just a white figure in front of her. And she's like, oh, thanks, and she just sat there like still, and he just stood there staring at us, just like an evil stare. And after that time, my friend and I could not talk to each other again. Our friendship broke up because the energy between the two of us were just off. No matter what we said, no matter what we did, it was always off. And we just were arguing about if I said, oh, it's a gorgeous blue day out there, and she'd say, oh no, it's going to rain. I mean, no matter what. And we talked about it, outside. We let it go for a couple of weeks. Then we sat down and talked about it. And we said, look, this is not good, because when we're together, their energy is still with us. They're still there. We can feel them, and they're gaining energy from us. We can't do that. So we haven't talked in 4 years now.
Oh.
So, yeah. And I mean, that was a shame.
Mutual.
Yeah, no, we understood it, because we just said we're not, and we had talked to other psychic, people that were with us, and they said, it's not good for either of you. It's not good for you, because you're going to have an issue. It's going to carry on, because they've somehow, each of them have taken one of you, and they're trying to gain that strength. And the more you argue with each other, the more strength you're giving it. So we just didn't do it again. And that was the last time we went back there too. We didn't go back after that.
Is there a way to be cleansed of them?
We did. We did cleansing stuff on ourselves. We had people do cleansing stuffs on ourselves, and we just stayed away. It took about a month or so after the last time where we started to feel like more ourselves about it. We didn't feel as angry about certain things. But those are the type of, and we always do protection prayers when we go in. We always do protection prayers when we leave. We always tell, do the white circle. We always say, you can't follow us. We do all what you're supposed to do. But these were just two strong spirits that had their own agenda. And it just made a difference. And we just realized we couldn't do it after that. We couldn't be around each other. It was not healthy for either of us. So that was the biggest regret one, I could say. Like, out of all the psychic stuff I've done, that was the biggest regret one. But you have to look at your own safety. You have to look at what you're bringing into your own lives, and that can be brought in very easily. And even though we did everything we were supposed to do, they somehow still snuck in past us.
Glad you guys were able to work it out and understand each other and know what's going on, so there's no hard feelings
Yeah,
between you.
there was no hard feelings or animosity or anything like that. We talked it out. We said, this is not good. We're giving them the energy they want, and we don't want to do that. We have to stop it now, and it's a shame, but that's sometimes you have to do that for your own sanity.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Very true.
Yeah.
Very true.
I mean, spirits have a way of getting under your skin. And, I always say to people, it's fine to be interested in in psychic abilities and all that, but you got to be careful. You have to not invite things in that you don't want to invite in. You have to be there to make sure you're protected. I had an interesting thing down here in North Carolina. I had gone to see a friend of mine who is an energy expert. She was speaking, and I went to the thing she was speaking at. And I came home, and I was talking to my husband, and I was telling him about the event I had been to. And all of a sudden, I heard this like loud crack. It sounded like a tree had fallen. So we're looking outside, looking like, what happened?
What fell?
We're surrounded by trees, and couldn't find anything. So just kind of like, all right, there's something outside. We'll find it in the morning when everything lightens up. So I go in to our dining room before bedtime, and I look, and our dining room table is actually crushed in the middle. It had just collapsed in the middle. So I was like, okay. So I look underneath, and it was just so weirdly broken. Like, it shouldn't have broken like that. It was like both sides of the table, the supports had just like broken into itself. And it looked like somebody had just crashed the middle of the table. So first thing I did is I got on the phone with my friend who did the energy space. I was like, hey, had something weird happen. So she channeled into our house, and she goes, your energy in your house is good, except for the table. She says, there's hard energy there. I said, all right, what do I do about it? And she told me to do the cleanse and, the whole routine to do. She says, after you set it back up and you fix it, do the cleanse. She says, I'm going away for a couple of days. I'll check in when I get back. Okay. So a couple of days later, I called her and I said, hey, the table's back up. You want to check in on us? And she goes, yep, energy is all clear now. It's all stable. She goes, I don't know what happened, but she said somehow along the line that energy just took off on the table.
Oh, wow.
And even when my husband was fixing it, he's looking at it and he's saying, I don't understand how this broke. It just didn't make sense how it had collapsed. It was almost like somebody sat in the middle of the table and just jumped on it and broke it. That's how everything had collapsed inside. And the only reason it didn't fall all the way was because the chairs were underneath it. So you have things like that. And a lot of people say, just coincidence. Even my husband says, it's coincidence, but things like, my husband is a believer, non-believer. He'll believe it when it happens, but he doesn't believe it otherwise. So,
right.
But it's just, you just have to be very cautious about what you're seeing and believe stuff that you're seeing and know when it's not right and know when it's not normal. And I always say, you get that feeling you're driving and all of a sudden you want to go straight, but something makes you make a left-hand turn. You don't know why you're going left. You just go left. And then you say, why am I here? Wait a minute. Why am I here even? Go with it, because that some reason is telling you you're not supposed to be on that road or that area where you were headed. And it's your protection. Right. It's your angels telling you, I'm going to take you another route, even though I've done that where I'm driving and all of a sudden I'm on a different road and I'm like, what? Wait a minute. This isn't where I was going. Why? Okay, well, we'll just go another way. We'll figure it out as we go.
Right. I had that happen to me I was directed to get gas one morning and I'm like, bought it and everything, but come to realize it was because of an accident right next to my work. So yeah, I
Mhm.
get it.
Yeah. And you
Yeah,
could have been just that minute or two to be involved with the accident. So
exactly.
yeah. So never fight your gut feelings or your angels or guides telling you to do something, even if it doesn't make sense. I mean, like they always say, if you're told if you're running late to get out of the house, don't stress about it because there's a reason you're running late. Just take a
Right.
deep breath, wait a few minutes until you feel like it's okay, and then go because there's another reason you're not aware of. So,
Right.
but
Exactly.
yeah,
Exactly.
yeah. But I've
Yeah.
worked on, like I said, I've been doing this since 2019. Before that, I used to have dreams as a kid. Each dream meant something. I'd have certain symbols that meant something to me. That comes from the Irish side of the family. You know, uh, I have cousins that have psychic abilities, but they don't embrace it because one sees too much. She sees the future and she doesn't like to do that.
Oh,
And
I
the other
don't
one
blame her.
just doesn't want to be, she just doesn't want to do it, So, and it's fine. They know I do this. All my cousins know I do it. My friends know I do it. I don't hide that I do it. Um, when I reach out for an area that like to investigate, first thing I usually will text is like, this may sound like a really weird thing to ask, but I'm a paranormal investigator. Could I possibly come in and investigate your area? Because I know if I was a non-believer and got a text message, I want to do a paranormal investigation in your place, I'd be like, okay, somebody's drinking or smoking something.
Right.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Yeah. But
Right.
if you have psychic ability, research it, study it, use it, even if it's just going around your town with a recorder and just seeing what you feel and just asking questions and seeing what you get back. And just don't be afraid of it. Embrace it. Find other areas. I know in New Jersey, there's a church that's called the ISD, which is the Institute for Spiritual Development. They do a load of classes on this. They train people. That's how actually I got really trained was I went to a month's class there. And there's a lot of places like that around. You got to look for it because it's kind of like this hidden areas that people don't really talk about. But find places that are, groups that are involved with it and talk to them and you'll be surprised. Everybody's psychic. It's just that people don't use it. They just don't, they hide away from it. But everybody has
Right.
psychic ability.
Yeah. Yeah. I get that. My family's kind of like that too. My dad feels my mom that's passed away, and he'll feel her once in a while, but it freaks him out.
Yeah.
I talk to him. He's fine until I talk to him and say, "Yeah, Dad, Mom is here with you. She's with you," and then that kind of freaks him out. And then he's
Yeah.
like, "Wait," and then I have my oldest, my brother. He's the oldest, and he is a medium, but he doesn't
Okay.
want to work with it. But he's a amazing medium, and my oldest sister, she has had some things happen. She's had dreams that have come true,
Right.
and but she doesn't believe in any of this, right? And
Yeah.
I have
It's
a
just
sister,
your common sense telling you this can't be true, but
right,
it is, It's,
right. And then my sister, in between her and I, there's she's actually a Reiki master now, so she's all into this. She's all good with it, and then there's me, that's
yeah, it's what
doing all this
people are
crazy stuff.
comfortable. And if you're not comfortable with it, don't, don't do it. Just, I have a friend that passed away 11 years ago, and he was a firecracker. I mean, he was an actor. He just was a firecracker. His energy was so high. And after he died, he had pancreatic cancer. He died very young. And he used to come to me. I'd feel his energy. The only trouble is he thought it was funny. He'd come to me when I was driving and he'd like sit in front of me in front of the steering wheel.
Oh, jeez.
Like, so I was like looking at him while I'm driving and I'd be like, could you move? Just, I
Just
don't
the
want
way.
you to go, just move. That was his like sense of humor type of thing. Like, I'm here. And his parents are great believers in this. And I always tell them when I see him or feel him or anything. And recently, just before Halloween, I was standing making a sandwich in the kitchen, and I felt him like right over me. I could see him. And he was just like looking and laughing. And I was like, okay, hi there. I see you. Yeah, all right. I'll talk to your parents. So I texted his parents. His father had just gone through some medical stuff. And I texted them and I said, hey, just letting you know, Billy was around today, and he was just giggling at me making a sandwich. So I figured I'd reach out, let you know he's doing okay. And his dad came back and he says, he says, well, Halloween was Billy's big thing. And I said, yeah, he loved Halloween. He says, well, we just went and decorated his grave for Halloween. We just finished it. I said, okay, that's why he's coming to me. He wants me to tell you he sees it. He knows what you did. So, and they were so thrilled about that. It was just like, it made them feel so good. And that's the kind of thing, like if you get messages like that, sometimes it doesn't make sense to you, but it can make a whole difference to somebody else.
Yeah.
So,
yeah.
But
yeah,
the world's an interesting.
Go ahead.
No, I was just going to say the world's an interesting place.
That it is. I've had a lot of different little experiences. One of them was kind of like with a friend from high school that I saw him shortly after he passed, and I didn't know he passed until like 15 years later.
Wow.
And it was like, I didn't even know he passed. I've been thinking about him and everything else. And I lost contact with him, so I couldn't find him and all of this. And then, oh yeah, he's been gone for other years. And I'm like, what?
Yeah, he's coming to you for a reason. He's just trying to connect again, I believe there's different planes. Like people say, oh, ghosts and goblins, and no, I just think there's different planes. And like people always ask me, well, do you like send them to the light? And I'm like, no, I don't do that. Because if they don't want to go to the light, there's a reason they're not going to the light. Maybe they're very comfortable down here. Or maybe they go. I had a friend tell me that there's actually so many planes in this world that they can shift between planes, which is why sometimes we feel them, sometimes we don't. And they're happy. They're just like floating back and forth between the planes. I know some people that say, oh, they have to go to the light to be happy. I don't believe that. I believe that there are certain times that they're here for a reason, whether it's unfinished business, they're watching over their families. And I always feel like we'll always ask, do you want to go forward? Do you want to, go move forward? Yeah. But if it's not their choice, I never try to force them to that. And the one thing I absolutely hate is watching the TV shows where they're yelling at the spirits and arguing with them and cursing them out. And I'm like, you don't do that with spirits. No. It's like, that's just like so disrespectful. And it just gets me so annoyed when they do that. And I'm like always waiting for something like to come crashing at them. I'm just like, come on, spirits, do something. Teach them what's right, But you always have to be respectful of the spirits. And you have to, sometimes they don't understand what's happening with them. They have no idea. I had my daughter's ex-brother-in-law, he died of an overdose. And he kept coming to me. And I was just like, I can't help you. You're passed on. You died. And he just would not let go. And it got to a point where it was draining me. I was getting drained. And so I went to my mentor in the psychic field and I said to her, look, I need some help with this. I don't know what to do. So she says, he doesn't know what happened. She says, he doesn't understand. He's not accepting that this happened. I said, well, he's got to accept it because I can't, he's waking me up all hours of the night and day, constantly in my head. I can't do this anymore. So she said, what you need to do is go to the cemetery where he's buried and sit and talk to him and just tell him this is where he's laid now. This is where he's at rest. He needs to move on. And I said, he keeps saying he wants to tell his family he's sorry. And she says, you can't do that for him. He's got to make that message to them, whether it's in their dreams or their conversations or whatever. He's got to make that aware, and you've got to make that the point with him. So I did. I went to the cemetery and I sat down with him and I talked to him and I said, look, you need to move on. You died. You did an overdose. Your parents are very upset. But if you want to say sorry to them and your brother and your family, you need to do that in your own way. I can't help you with that. And I said, you just need to move on and be at peace. That you're not coming back. This is like, unfortunately, it's something that happened. And, you can't come back from this. And as I was sitting there, I just felt this like weird gust of wind come through as I was sitting there. And it had been still. And all of a sudden it just got real quiet. And that was the last time he bothered me. He never came by near me again. So it was like, okay. I felt like he moved on. He went on to wherever he had to be. My daughter feels him every once in a while, especially when she was he never baby being
Hello.
born.
Okay.
So
You froze up on us.
oh, sorry. But my daughter has felt it where people have come to her, especially when she was pregnant, that she felt that there was somebody around watching for the baby and watching the baby. And when the baby was born, giggling in his crib and everything. And she knew somebody was around. And so she's very into it too. So she picks up on things. So it is family bred.
That's pretty cool. I had this guy that was in my back seat for about 2 weeks on the way to work. I just felt somebody back there. And one morning I heard this, help me, kind of thing.
Jeez.
And I'm like, okay, well, there's the light, go towards it. Your family's waiting, blah, blah. And I haven't heard him since. So,
Yeah, he was lost. He just didn't know what was happening. And,
yeah.
And I think that's when you get the poltergeists and you get the agitated spirits. I think that's just because they don't know what happened. They're like, it's like you, if you went to sleep today and then woke up in a whole different world and nobody could see you and talk to you and feel you and you couldn't react with somebody, how would you feel? You'd be panicked. You'd be like, what's going on? And that's how I feel they feel sometimes.
Yeah, I
They
can
just get
believe
that
that.
panic. Yeah.
Yeah.
So that's why I tell anybody, don't be afraid of the paranormal. Be careful with the paranormal because there's good and there's evil out there. But just go with your feelings. Go with it and not always look at things so cold that it can't happen. Or it's not it's not really happening, because it probably is happening. I think there's a lot more happening than we actually realize it.
Exactly. It's so much that's going on that we don't even see
Right.
I mean, what comes to mind with something like that is we just recently had the Northern Lights around our area.
Mhm.
But without the camera, it just looked like all the street lights and everything was shining off clouds until you put the
Right.
camera up. And then it's like, wow, that's beautiful. So, I mean, it's kind of the same thing. We don't necessarily see it all the time with our bare eyes, but with equipment, we can hear and see.
Hear it. Yeah.
Mhm.
I know sometimes I'll reach out to some of my friends and I'll say, is it just me, or is I just feel so anxious right now? It's like my energy is like I'm just at that level where there's something, and everybody's usually the same. They're like, yep, it's the this or that, or the storm fields, or the full moon coming, or whatever. And it's like, okay, as long as I'm not just me having an anxiety issue, it's just, but when like
Right.
there's a full moon or there's storms coming and you just get that energy feel that just like is overwhelming sometimes, and you just got to shut it down a little bit. That's when it's a little scary. Excuse me.
Yeah, I'm starting to get a little
But
bit of that now of where I think I'm feeling that energy coming through. I think I'm
yeah,
starting to like really get the feel of that now.
and
Yeah.
it's things that are happening in the world. If there's a lot of upsetment in the world, you can feel it. If sometimes I'll go through a store and I can feel like just the energy in the store or something like that. And it's sometimes you just got to learn how to shut it out, because you come out and you're exhausted and you don't know why you're exhausted, but it's just all that energy that's hitting you from all different sides. And you just have to protect yourself as much as possible. I try to go to the stores when they're less crowded, like, because I find
Right.
that if I go in when it's like a really busy time, I come out just totally exhausted. And it's
Yeah.
like, nope, can't do this. I need some quiet time. It's like,
I noticed that too in the stores. It's just I come out just like like
yeah,
here, and I'm even noticing lately that lights when I'm driving, because I drive to work at night, and the lights are just so much brighter now.
Yeah.
It just hurts my eye. I don't know if it's the actual headlights of these cars, but like house lights are just blinding to me now.
Yeah.
They're just so bright for me, and noises at work just I just I just can't do it anymore. It's so hard
Yeah.
for me.
Yeah. The energy levels are up and it's just taken over, but you have to just protect yourself from it. You just kind of have to say, okay, this is what you got to put your blocks up. That's what I call it. You put your blocks up. Like if I feel there's a lot of energy around, okay, guys, I'm going to bed now. I don't want to hear from you. You talk to me in the morning. I'm going to sleep. I need my sleep. I don't want to hear dreams. I don't want to have dreams. I don't want to, weird things that are going to wake me up in the middle of the night. None of that. I just want to go to bed and have some sleep so I can get up tomorrow morning. You can talk to me all day long. But you hear things, you see things, and sometimes you can explain it and sometimes you can't. But if you're into the psychic field, I think it's amazing. I did have one time when I excuse me, when I was at somebody's house, we were doing an investigation, and I have a video of the audio recorder, and we were talking in their basement, and all of a sudden the voice comes over, "Hi, Maryann," and I'm like, "Oh, hi." It's like somebody knew I was there. I have another one I think I shared with you about. We were on the investigation in the cemetery, and it led me to a cemetery stone. I'd never been there before. It was, again, cold out, walking around, just kept getting led to a stone, and it said Taylor, which was my last name. Again, never been in the cemetery before, didn't know, but somebody knew. And that's when you say, okay, somebody knows who I am. Somebody's reaching out to me and feeling that for me,
Were you
which is
related
always
to
good.
that person?
Nope, knew nobody. Was no contact, no nothing. It was just the name. And it was just like, and you can see in the video where I'm kind of walking, then I stop, then I kind of turn and I go a little further, and then I stop, and then I turn. It was like I was getting led until I went across this little street, and then right there it was Taylor. And I'm like, oh, there it is. Okay. It's,
Right.
but
That's my
it's
name.
fun. Yeah. Okay. Somebody knows who I am. They know I'm here.
Right.
But it's fun, though. It's fun.
Do you go
But
to cemeteries and see things in cemeteries, or is that because I know some people don't like to do the cemetery thing? So, what are your
cemeteries to
thoughts?
me are my relaxation place. If
Okay.
I'm stressed, I like to go to a cemetery. I find
Okay.
they're like just to walk around. They're the most relaxing places. I've done investigations in cemeteries. Depending on the situation of the cemetery, like if you're going to like some war battle cemetery or something where there's a lot of negative energy, you may pick something up. But most of the time, it's just relaxing and everything like that. Um, I just love going and just sitting. That's just like when my brain needs relaxation. It's like I said, that's actually cemeteries where we taught our daughter how to count. Because when she was little, we'd walk as a family through the cemeteries and we'd say, okay, they were born in this year and they died in this year. How old were they when they, and she
Oh,
would do
there
the
you
math
go.
on the cemetery stones. So that's how she learned how to do math, is by looking at cemetery stones. So,
Well,
but
I mean, what works, I guess.
yeah, our family's a little odd. So, but
Hey, it
they're
works.
relaxing. The artwork on the cemetery stones sometimes are gorgeous. It's like better
Yeah.
than a museum, and they're free.
And they're free, right?
I actually
Exactly.
went when I first moved down to North Carolina. There's a big cemetery, big old cemetery in the middle of town. Naturally, that was like one of my first places I had to go. So
Right.
I went in, and it's kind of in a rougher neighborhood. So people were like, "Don't go after dark." Blah 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 blah. It's okay. That's just security reasons. And nothing really bad ever happens in that area. But anyway, so I there was a memorial service for Memorial Day. They had a big Veterans Day Memorial Day, and I was around. I was there at that, and then I said, you know what? I'm going to go to the cemetery. So I go into the cemetery and I go into the gates, And I'm driving, and like you go into the gates, and then I started to like turn on a road like this way. And there was a man sitting there. And he was, you would say, a homeless person. That's what he looked like. He had the bags and everything. And I kind of slowed down, and I'm like, thinking about what now I just moved down, so I really didn't know the area that well. And I'm like, oh, this may not have been a good thing with nobody knowing where I am, but so I waved to him. I waved to him, and he waved back to me, and I went on and left the cemetery. I said, I'll come back another time when, my husband's with me. So didn't think anything of it. A couple of months later, I was working with, they have a ghost tour in Halloween. They do Halloween really big in the town. And I was stationed at the cemetery as a ticket taker. So I'm at the cemetery, and I'm leading people into the cemetery. And I realized that where I had turned on the road, there was no road. So the next day I came back with my car, and I went back in like I had, and there was no road where I had turned. It was all cemetery stones. So I was like, okay. And I looked, and I got out, and I looked thinking maybe I had just like not looked at it the right way. And it was just all cemetery stones lined up. There was no roads on any of that area that I was looking at. And I was like, okay, then whoever I saw, they weren't really there.
I was going to say that man that was sitting there.
He was somebody, but not, because I said, I went on past him on the road and waved to him, and the road just wasn't there when I came back. So it was like, okay, I don't know what that was all about. I went back and looked at the cemetery stone because I thought maybe I'd get something from that. It was an older stone, so I couldn't really tell much, But that was like something that was like, oh, okay. All right, something happened here, but I didn't realize what it was at the time. I just thought it was a guy sitting in the cemetery. Didn't think much about it.
And there's no tracks on the cemetery where you were driving?
Nope, because the road went down, and it actually went past where this was, where I had turned. And the next road was like further down. And I had not gone that far. I knew I hadn't gone that far because I remembered the cemetery stones I had turned at. So whatever that apparition was that I saw, he just was saying hello. So I was like, hello. I kept walking and kept going.
Wow.
So things like that can happen to you and you don't even realize it.
Yeah, that's crazy. That's crazy. Yeah. We live next to the main cemetery where I live, and there is one right off the road, the main road there, because it's split. So the highway goes between the cemetery. So at the one spot there is, it's a cement casket above ground.
Ooh.
And yeah, exactly. And it's cracking. So it's like,
oh,
yeah, you know where I'm going at, right?
Yeah.
Is this person going to like come through? Or has it even come through? Is that why it's cracked?
Yeah.
But it's been there, and you could tell that it's been there for centuries. It's been there forever.
Yeah.
And
or is there anything left, or
right, what's going on within this casket here? It's just I think about it every time I pass it.
That's what things are kind of creepy. Yeah. I remember when I was a kid, we used to go to the cemetery where my family was buried in North Arlington Cemetery in New Jersey. And I remember my mother had gone to get water to water the flowers near the family grave or something. And she came back and she says, oh, you've got to see this grave. And I was probably, I don't know, 6, 7 years old. And my father's like, what do you mean we got to go see a grave? He's like, and she's like, you got to see this. She says, it's a little boy in a communion suit, and it's a glass coffin. So my father's like, what? He's like, who would do something like that? So she goes back and she walks us over to the other side of the cemetery where she had been. We looked for hours. We could not find that coffin. Could not find that cemetery
Oh, it was
coffin.
just for your mom, huh? Oh,
Just for her. She just saw it, but she says, I'm telling you, it was there. It was a little boy. He had on the whole suit and he was holding the rosary beads, and it was just a fully glass coffin. And that was before cell phones where you could take pictures, so
right.
yeah.
Exactly.
So, but we never, and I even have asked the cemetery, is there a glass coffin somewhere in the cemetery? Thinking that's something they would know about. And they're like,
Yeah.
no, we have nothing like that. They said, we have nothing like that. I'm like, okay, well.
So was she able to like see through the ground and through the casket? So it was like an
It
open
was just like,
uh,
it was just sitting on top of like a,
the
I guess a
ground.
pedestal of some sort. And it
Oh,
was just an all glass. The thing that got her that it was all glass and that she
right.
could look at this little boy, so clearly. And
Uh,
when we, never been able to find it, never been able to get information about it. So
Wow.
things like that can happen to you and you don't even think twice about it,
Yeah.
you know,
Yeah.
but definitely it's interesting.
Very interesting. I haven't had anything happen to me in a cemetery except for when I my mom was buried. Uh I found a feather, which was
Okay.
kind of weird because she passed in February and was laid down in March, like March 1st, I
Okay.
think it was actually. Um, so it was all snowy and everything else. And there's this black feather right there on top of the snow. So it's like,
Yep.
oh, that's from mom.
Yep. Telling you. I know
Yeah.
we had, my mom got sick unexpectedly and she died fairly quickly. And we had gone to Hawaii. I had taken her when my first job, I had taken her to Hawaii for 2 weeks just before she got sick. And she had bought me earrings as a memento. And I wore them at her funeral. And when I got back from the funeral, I realized I had lost one of the earrings. So I was so upset. I was devastated that I'd lost this earring. So a couple of weeks later, when the cemetery stone had been set, my father says, you want to come out and see that everything's okay, what it looks
Uh-huh.
like. And we went out, and there was the earring sitting right on top of the grass. And I was like, how did that? I mean, they dig it all up. They put the grave in. They dig it up
Right.
again to put the stone in. And here's this earring just sitting like right on the top of the grave. And I was like, okay. Mom knew I was upset. She just wanted to make sure that I got my earring back.
That's funny you say that because when I was going to my mom's funeral, I put some earrings in and you put the back of the earring in and it's in the hole. It's secure, right?
Right.
Well, before we left the house, I'm in the kitchen and I feel something in my hair and I feel it. And sure enough, it was my earring. It was the back was on it and everything. And I had it in my ear. And it's like, okay, I guess mom doesn't want me to wear these today. So I
Yeah.
went back and
Now
I
what
changed my
doesn't go with your
earrings.
outfit.
Like,
Doesn't go with your outfit.
how? Yeah. I mean, it's like
Yeah.
completely out of my ear. And I know because I feel it to make sure it's in there. And I
Yeah,
even
secure.
really
Yeah.
check it now because it's like,
Yeah. I think moms are especially strong when they come through. They're still mom. It's still
it's, yeah.
they're gonna slap you against the head if they have to make you realize something. It's
Well, she didn't have to on that one. It's like, my earring is just dangling in my hair. How?
but that's all stuff that people take for granted. They just say, "Oh, I didn't put it in right. I don't." Instead of looking at it, that it may be a sign from somebody. It may be
Yeah.
something, or you hear a song that you haven't heard in years, and it puts you right back to a certain person or something like that. And
Oh, all the time.
yeah,
I've got I've got a song that'll play and it's um takes me back to what fourth grade.
yeah,
Fourth grade field trip. Yeah, crazy.
and it always
Crazy.
is about something that puts you back in a spot where you were, with people, certain people or something like that.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. That's
But
pretty
just
awesome.
people have to be conscious of what they can't see. That's what I always say. Be
Oh,
conscious of what you can't see.
yeah, be very cautious and yeah, because you never know what you're going to see, hear, or feel. Or,
Right?
these are some of the things I've done, but some are kind of crazy on it. It's like, what's going on? And others is like, wow, because that's how this all started, my podcast. So just
Yeah.
by a word, by a
Yeah.
single word. And here I am.
And you're spreading the word now.
I love it. It's so much fun. I love doing this. I love
Yeah.
getting to know all these people. I love the stories that I hear. I love how people connect and the stories are just so amazing. I'm always in awe. Um
I always like when I get a group of people that I know are involved with this, because then you kind of feel like you're part of something,
mhm.
that it's not just like you're a little off.
Right,
It's like
right,
there are other people out there, that,
right.
you know,
Yeah.
um, I, I have a meme that I put up every once in a while, and it's like, how my friends introduce me. Hi, this is my friend. She talks to dead people. It's like, yep. It's like,
Yeah. 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 I've got, like I say, I've got several experiences and it's just fun. It is just,
yeah.
you know,
And I mean, we
yeah.
could talk for hours on experiences. I mean, just,
Yeah.
hours and hours people can talk about experiences.
Yeah. I agree. I agree. Even some things that you don't think, it's like, oh, yeah. Yeah,
Or you
possibly that.
say something, and it's like, oh, yeah, that happened to me. It's like,
Exactly. Exactly. Well, I
yeah,
know you have more stories, but our hour is up already. And so,
I know that
um,
went quick.
uh, let me see. Let me check my time here and see what's going on. Yeah, I think I'm going to have to probably go ahead and cut this off right here. But
Right. But I
I
would
know
like to
you.
say, if anybody'd like to see some of our investigations, they can go to Midlife Spirits. That's my Facebook group. And I'm also on YouTube. And I have some of my investigations up there that they can look at if they're interested in seeing more.
Yeah, I'd love to talk about some more of it whenever you're ready. And I know we didn't even get
Sure.
to your haunted house that you grew up in. So
That's
you're
a
gonna,
whole nother hour.
yeah, see, so you're gonna have to come back and we're gonna have to talk about your haunted house. So,
Gladly, anytime.
okay, awesome. Well, if
Thank
anyone
you
out
so
there
much.
has, oh, absolutely, thank you. If anyone out there has a story you would like to share, email me at lighttalk423@gmail.com and we will talk with everybody next time. Thank you so much for joining us and we'll talk with everyone. Bye.